Hello. Tonight I'm going to show you how to make some bread without flour and without yeast. It's a different kind of bread. It obviously, it's not the kind of bread that you're used to probably, but if you ever had an opportunity to taste it, you probably would love it. It's just delicious, very healthy, and the reason that it's made without flour is for people who have gluten sensitivity. And here in the USA, a lot of people have gluten sensitivity because the wheat in the USA has been altered. It's now what's called genetically modified. It's not the original wheat that God intended. And there's a lot of produce like that in the United States now. People have to be very careful because it can damage your health. This is why I only eat organic food now, because it's just not worth taking a chance. And I didn't realize that this was happening to the wheat, and I was starting to get some problems, digestive problems, and identified, after looking it up online, that with the symptoms that I had, that it was related to the wheat, which, like I said, a lot of people have now. So I stopped eating regular bread. Now I only eat, if I eat regular bread, it's sprouted grain bread, and it's organic, or I make my own, which is like this, and it's not made with yeast or flour. It's made with almonds. And I know that's going to sound a little odd probably if you've never heard of this, but this is called almond flour. And what this is almonds, regular almonds. You take the regular almonds and you put them in a blender and you grind them up, and they turn into powder like this. And I went ahead and made some before because I forgot that I had the flour already ground up. So what I did was had bags of almonds that I just put in the food processor and ground them up. And mine has a little more texture than this one because they did something a little bit different with it, with the whatever blender they used. This is actually much more dry than mine. Mine has more texture. Let's see. So this is what we're going to make the bread with. Tasty. And I got a recipe from the internet. It's very simple. It's going to take a lot of eggs and almond flour, some spices. Sweetener is going to be not sugar, pure maple syrup. No sugar, no refined sugar. This is pure maple syrup from the trees, from the maple trees. And I also use some stuff called stevia. It's like a white powder, and it's from a leaf in Paraguay that the natives call honey leaf, and they grind the leaf up to a powder, kind of like what we do with the almonds. You grind them up to a powder, and it's a sweetener. It's a natural sweetener. It's not anything artificial. Really what it is an herb. Stevia is an herb, and like I said, they grind it up and powder it up, and I buy it and use it. And it's great because I don't like to use refined sugar. That's for all other reasons. It's also health reasons. We don't use refined sugar. So let me get started. Get my recipe here. Get a bowl. my recipe calls for 2 cups of almond flour. That's a cup. Can't see because it's dark and I need to get under a light. Turn the light on. Oh, the light is on. I'm not going to get my own cooking show, as you can see. This is a 2/3 cup. This is not a full cup. Where is a full cup? I think this is a full cup. Yay! So, let's get 2 cups of this. One. Oops. And 2. And let's see, it says 5 eggs. That's a lot of eggs. 5 eggs. Well, we need a lot of moisture now because the almond flour is a little dry. So we need a lot of moisture, and also because it's not regular flour, it needs the eggs to, and it doesn't have any yeast in it, it needs the eggs to help turn it into bread. So, start cracking eggs. 5 eggs. 1. 2. Just kidding. Kidding. I know you can count. 3. 4. 5. Okay, so 5 eggs. Alright, it's almost done. 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. Baking soda. Let's find some baking soda under here. Here's the sea salt. Do I have baking soda? I do have baking soda. Also going to use baking powder. Baking powder. So how much of this do we need? I need a teaspoon. Baking soda. Okay, and cinnamon. 2 tablespoons. That's a lot of cinnamon. It's going to be good. It's going to be very tasty. And I can't find the tablespoon, but the trick is, if you didn't know, 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So 3 teaspoons. So I'm just going to do that. Cinnamon. Chili powder. Don't want chili powder. Where's the cinnamon? Do 3. 1, 2, 3. And it is 1 tablespoon. 2 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. And sea salt. And sea salt is 1/4 teaspoon. And actually, it's not that much, so I'm just going to grind it in here. This is a salt grinder. because the sea salt is very grainy. It's like these big grains. I don't know if you can see that. See that? They're like big grains. So you have to put it in a grinder to grind it up. Oh, you can see my bracelets. That's probably good. So let's see, put it in the teaspoon. Yep, very good. Okay, and it calls for a 1/4 cup of honey, but I'm not going to use that much of the maple syrup because instead of using all sweetener like this, like sweet stuff, I'm going to use this other good stuff called date powder. And can you open this for me, please? Seriously. How am I going to get this open? Oh, there. Got it. Date powder is, it's kind of like the ground almonds, except it's ground dates. And it looks like this, called date sugar. And even though they call it sugar, it's really not sugar. It's ground dates. So, you know, it's whole dates. They dry them and they grind them up in the food processor, just like we did with the almonds. They do that with the dates. And this is a lot like sugar in that it has a sweet flavor, but it also has a flavor because it tastes like dates. So this isn't great in everything, but it's very good in baking. And especially something like a sweet bread like this that has cinnamon, it's going to be a good addition to it. It'll taste very good. And this will also eliminate, you know, using too much really sweet stuff. So that's really when I bake, what I do. I try to use a combination of something like date sugar, the stevia, and a little bit of this, because I really don't like really extremely sweet stuff, and I really don't like sugar. So I just try to use a little, you know, stuff that is sweet, that's healthy, good for you. So I'm going to use, it calls for 1/4 cup of honey. So I'm going to use this is a half. So I'll do like about 1/8 of the date sugar. Just do a sprinkle of the stevia. I don't want to use too much of that because that's pretty strong. And about 1/8 of the maple. I'm going to put the maple right in with the eggs and whiz all that around together. Okay, so, and I put it in this cup thing, and I'll show you what I do with that. I have a blender. It's just a blender blade in a cup. And it's on this little base. And that whips it a little bit. So I'll pour this in with the flour, the almond flour. And the last ingredient that it calls for is coconut oil. Coconut oil is really good oil. It's excellent to bake with. It's very healthy oil. It's just so good for you. Coconuts are amazing gift from God. They're just so amazing. And the reason that they're so amazing is because there's a certain nutrient in coconut milk that's not found anywhere else, believe it or not, except mother's milk. So, when a woman breastfeeds, the milk has lactic acid in it, and the only other place you can find lactic acid, one of the only other places, I think it may be the only other place, is coconuts. So that's really interesting. It's a gift from God. It's so healthy for so many reasons. I can't even get into them all right now. But I love baking with coconut oil. And it's the brand, and it is organic. So I have to melt this. Here, melt some oil. And it says, how much? A quarter of a cup. So I'm going to use the same cup that I had put the maple syrup in. Why dirty another cup? Yeah. So you think I'm going to get my own cooking show? Yeah. Oh, and while this is cooking, while I'm preparing this bread, I also have a fresh pumpkin in the oven. I bought a fresh pumpkin today. A guy was selling them on the side of the road, and they were organic. It was only $2. It was just an amazing find to find an organic pumpkin for just $2. So, melt that oil. And right now I'm roasting it. Let's see if I can bring this over and show you. You see that? Oops. There's pumpkin in there. And I need to check that to see if it's done cooking, because it's been in there for a little while. Sorry. Maybe a few more minutes. So, how's my oil coming? Oh, here it is. Very good. Dump this in. And get some of this out of the way. And actually, I'm going to make 2 breads tonight, because I may even make 3. We're having a party tomorrow at work because it's called National Boss Day. So we're having, my idea, a tea party coffee break for my bosses. And I work on 2 different floors. So I work in a hospital, I work in the maternity area, and I also work in surgical ICU. So, I have bosses on each floor. And actually, in the maternity department, there's 2, and in surgical ICU, is there 1. So that's why I may make 3. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see how the one goes. So I need to get my mixer. Oh wow, I have 2 keys in here that I completely forgot about. Use those. So I have my mixer to get the blades. Get a spatula. Where's the blades? Blades. Ooh, this bowl is not really that big enough. It's kind of splashing. So I think I'm just going to do it by hand because it just seems like it was splashing too much. I really should have did this in a deeper bowl. So just mix this around by hand. And really that's it. So I'm going to turn the video off for now. I'm going to finish mixing this batter by hand. It's going to take a little while. And pour it in my pan. And actually, instead of greasing the pan like you normally do for cake or bread, this recipe calls for parchment. And what you do with parchment is actually a paper. Oops, my pumpkin's done. Turn this time off. Parchment is a paper that you line pans with. This is a brand new box. Figure out how to open it. And see, it's a very thin paper. And you can see on the package are cinnamon buns. So a lot of recipes call for parchment. And what parchment is really just a liner for the pan so that your baked goods don't stick to the pan and you don't have to use extra oil. Or, you know, what a lot of bakers do is like they grease and they flour the pan. Well, this eliminates that. You line your pan with this. And actually, this is the first time I'm using this. I usually do the other way. I take the coconut oil and I grease the pan and I flour it, but this recipe called for parchment, and I'm going to use the parchment because I want it to come out good because I'm baking it for people tomorrow, so I want to follow everything that the directions say. And like I said, I'm going to turn the video off right now because I'm going to mix this by hand, and I'm going to end this, and when the bread is done, I'll make another video, and I'll show you what it comes out like. I did make it once before. I made it for myself, and I didn't use the parchment paper. I did my thing with the grease and all that, and it did stick a little. So that's why I'm going to use the parchment. But I know that this bread just comes out excellent because I did make it once before, and you'll be totally amazed when you see what a nice bread you can make without flour and without sugar. Okay, so I'll see you a little later. I'm going to turn this off now.